Hi guys, welcome to Origin. This is another video following on from growing out of it, but it's got nothing this time to do with growing out of it, it's got more to do with individuality. When I made that video, one thing that I forgot to mention, and it was probably even one of the most important things, was my t-shirts. See, since 2007 I've almost exclusively been wearing band t-shirts. And it's only since last Christmas, the Christmas that just passed, that there's been one regular exception to that rule. And that's the one I've got on at the moment. I don't know if you could see that, but it's a rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock t-shirt made famous by the Big Bang Theory. This was a present, so it's not something I specifically bought for myself, but it is still something I wear on a regular basis, so I'm going to count that as an exception. And to see where this is going, I'm going to talk about something that I've seen in 3 different TV shows. John Bishop's Britain, Skins and South Park all made reference to, well, metalhead or goth fashion. And they ridiculed the fact that a lot of people in these, well, countercultures I guess you could call them, criticise others for being conformist and for all looking the same when they look more the same than any other group. Let's face it, there's a lot of black involved. Most of the band t-shirts are black, most of mine are, except for my 9 Inch Nails one, which is brown. There's also the trench coat that I talked about in my other video. And there's all sorts of different accessories like spike belts, but it all revolves very heavily around the colour black, so I can certainly see what people are saying, and it's one of those annoying social norm viruses that's gotten into my head. And really, all of this year I've alternated between, either non-black t-shirts or the one I'm wearing now, the Big Bang Theory one, simply because they're not black or not associated with metalhead culture. But there's another side to this, and it's a much darker one. If you try to truly non-conform when it comes to fashion, most of the time you get certain words thrown at you. One of the most common is dickhead. And of all the different judgments that people make, this is probably the one that pisses me off the most, because, and let's take one very common example, people who wear sunglasses pretty much everywhere. People like Bono, for example. But really, when anyone who's wearing sunglasses gets... But when it comes to all of these kind of meme-based groups on Facebook, like there's this one called I'mNotRightInTheHead.com, and you see all of these people that are wearing sunglasses and really just, or have generally quite outlandish looks. They're just almost exclusively blasted for it. Now, even if I don't agree, I can normally, after some amount of thought, at least understand where people are coming from. Perhaps the reason why this annoys me the most is that for this one I just can't. How can someone look at someone who's wearing a pair of sunglasses, even if they are indoors, and be so offended by that they have to, they have to blast them, they have to get into all of these groups to laugh at them and mock them and say how much of a dickhead they are. Let's face it, it doesn't harm anyone, and even if you think it doesn't work from a fashion point of view, so it's in bad taste if you like, it's not the kind of bad taste like a bad taste joke or something like that. It's just, it's a kind of fashion that you don't agree with. Why would that elicit such strong reactions? And I know that in the case of Bono, who I mentioned earlier, it's a lot more than that. But when you literally know nothing else about the person, what's going on in your head? And I am speaking here to people who do have these points of view, who make these judgments. What's going on in your head when you see that and you make those kind of comments? I do genuinely want to know. The other person is Lady Gaga. Now, she wears completely unique outfits all the time, and I can understand some of the criticisms made towards her. The meat dress, for example, well, you just have to put yourself in the shoes of a vegetarian and it makes perfect sense, but even if you're not, all of that meets Well, you could say it's going to waste. I would disagree because it's simply being used for a different purpose, but still, I can understand that argument. And I can understand how it would piss some people off. And they are very extravagant and take a lot of time, possibly a lot of money to make. Money being the key word here. If it costs a lot of money, if you're spending a lot of money on fashion, then, you know, that's money that could be put into more worthwhile, well, pursuits, if you like. But she was criticised long before the meat dress. And that makes me bring up a question here. She's not the only one to do this kind of thing. I mean, David Bowie did it back in the 70s. Marilyn Manson was doing it in the 90s and still doing it now. Yet both of them are celebrated. Now, yeah, their music will have a lot to do with that. And Marilyn Manson gets some weird reactions himself. I mean, he was blamed for Columbine. There's that rumour about having his rib removed. So what I'm asking here is either where's the consistency, or where's the essential difference between Lady Gaga and Marilyn Manson and David Bowie? And as a thought experiment, what if you got, you know, some kind of pop star or rock star that did something in the same kind of vein as Lady Gaga and Marilyn Manson and David Bowie, except it was a lot more low tech. Like maybe they would come dressed entirely in tinfoil or something. But, you know, it's cheap, it's very easy to make, but it could still have some real shock value in it just because of the fact that others don't do that kind of thing. My question is, if you were at that gig, watching that person with the weird clothing, the cheap weird clothing, what would you think of them? And you can assume that they never do anything like wear a meat dress or something like that. It could even be something as simple as coming on with pink jeans, or, you know, even a pink t-shirt as well. And imagine that person then plays, you know, the most intense extreme metal you've ever heard. What would go through your head at that point? So again, love to see what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.